Now, in a review by the Newsworks Zimbabwe, we see them write on Mugabe Tsvangirai's accident, according to Happyton Bonyongwe's book, One Among Many. What do they say here? Let us find out. There were serious tensions between the State Security Services, Central Intelligence Organization CIO bosses and doctors at Avenue Clinic in Harare on 6 March 2009 after the involvement of the then Prime Minister Mugabe Tsvangirai in a road accident around Beatrice which killed his wife Susan. Former CIO General Happyton Bonyongwe says the crash happened 50 kilometers south of Harare as Tsvangirai headed to his rural home in Buera along the then potholed Harare to Masvingo Highway, one of the many damaged roads during the inclusive government time. A foreign aid truck would ram into Mugabe Tsvangirai's Land Cruiser and it overturns. Susan Tsvangirai would die. She had been married to Mugabe Tsvangirai for 31 years. Now, Bonyongwe says this created serious tensions which almost exploded between the CIO and the medical doctors who suspected the accident was an assassination plot against Mugabe Tsvangirai. Writing in his memoirs, One Among Many, my contribution to the Zimbabwean story, Bonyongwe said, Tsvangirai had with him a team of CIO officers as protection, and therefore I was one of the first people to know about the event. I contacted the former president Robert Mugabe and briefed him. He then asked me to make arrangements for him to visit Mugabe Tsvangirai at the hospital. Now, the Avenues Clinic had provided the base of the Doctors for Human Rights, and therefore relations between the service and the hospital were not very good. The senior doctors who supported the opposition all descended on the hospital. They wanted to save Tsvangirai, whom they suspected had survived an assassination attempt by the CIO. My exchanges with them at around 11 p.m. were quite tense. Their view was that the CIO security details should have taken the bullet for the chief, and the CIO vehicle should have driven into the vehicle which had rammed Tsvangirai's car the moment they saw suspicious movements. I replied, this was not possible, otherwise CIO vehicles would ram on oncoming traffic, not knowing which one would hit the principal's car. My rationale was rejected. Bonyongwe then says, what saved the explosive situation was information which trickled in during the encounter, showing the automobile which crashed into Tsvangirai's car was an American embassy vehicle. The former CIO boss adds on, fortunately, before Mugabe's arrival, information came through that it was an American embassy vehicle which had hit the MDC leader's car. As the Americans were trusted allies of the MDC, this information put the CIO in the clear. Robert and Grace Mugabe arrived and I led them in to see Tsvangirai, where they expressed very genuine sympathy. And in my assessment, the bereaved and wounded opposition leader was pleased to be consoled by the president, and the First Lady Mugabe also attended Susan's funeral service at the Methodist Church in Malbrain, Harare, and gave a speech. My deputy, Menard Muzariri, attended the burial in Buera and had the opportunity to convey the service's condolences to Tsvangirai. This would have been inconceivable before the Global Political Agreement, the GPA, which went a very long way towards lowering tensions in Zimbabwe. Having a fully functional civil service built on Commonwealth traditions was a very good thing. Even though the political involvement in Zimbabwe was polarized, the civil service did well in servicing the inclusive government during the early days. There was much suspicion, but eventually Tsvangirai chose to travel with properly trained professional CIO security details rather than his own MDC security personnel. I have always thought that the state should provide for security or outside government. Security should not be a status symbol, but provided on the details to any citizen assessed as being vulnerable, regardless of whether they are in or outside government. Security should not be a status symbol, but provided on the basis of threat levels as assessed by the country's security agency. The mushrooming of some pseudo security companies and the proliferation of firearms would also be curtailed by such a move. So that is what we see General Happyton Bonyongwe speak in his book concerning Mugabe Tsvangirai's accident. Here he reveals his position that he is a neutral person who was not polarized to any political party, right? Why is he revealing this information now? Obviously, there is political ambitions on the part of General Happyton Bonyongwe. And of course, yes, he is allowed to have political ambitions. Me too, I do have political ambitions. As I always say, I also want to become the president of Zimbabwe, hopefully after the presidency of Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa. So we see him here speaking on terms of for security. It should not be a symbol of status, right? So like me here, I need security, yeah? And obviously, to be able to travel for those things, because I'm being harassed consistently by some of the people who were involved in 2008 violence, including the murder of my father in the year 2008. Here, harassing me non-stop, day in, day out. They think they can take my blood and maybe drink it for some power. These fools who are usable by anybody. These criminals for hire, right? We all know when you need to be hiring somebody to sabotage somebody, maybe to make them disoriented, be it a court hearing, one can hire Mahure and Zigure. So this is the situation which I'm facing here. So I understand that the Zimbabwe National Army has a provision to provide security for any individual should they require it. So far I've called the president's office. I haven't contacted the military. So with that coming from Happyton Bonyongwe, actually I'll be contacting the military of Zimbabwe so these guys can use the resources at their disposal for this. Calling the president's office, I know very well if you call, if there are people who are doing their work, obviously they make their own investigation in whatever way they be investigating. Now that is a revelation into some of the incidents that would happen following the Mugabe Tsvangirai accident that saw him lose his wife Susan Tsvangirai. May his soul continue to rest in power. With that, I sign out, Dr. Clarence, and also may Robert Gabriel Mugabe rest in power. Thank you for watching.